What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boys from the ShockTheWorld podcast. Down one man, but I'm still here, and Tim's still here. It's your boy Harold Issa here with Tim.
What's up, guys?
So
it's old man Tim Hanna calling in live and loud. Sorry, from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Indeed. And you know, we kind of got a nice little breather this last week. Unfortunately, we don't have Jay with us today. He's celebrating his birthday with his family, so happy birthday, Jay. And then
Happy birthday, Jay.
Tim is gone, and it was just a large cluster. So you're probably, if you're on YouTube like you have been, like a good fan and subscribe to the YouTube channel, you probably see a black screen, and we're kind of having a recap of the last week. So last we talked to you guys, we did our audio episode while Tim was out of town, and then last week we had our bye weeks. So we are back. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, and it's going to be a one-fer where we're going to go ahead and cover basically what happened this last week. Don't have a UAH game to talk about, and then give you guys the power rankings, and then talk about a little bit what to expect for this next week with the game against Tulane. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and get started, dude, and talk about week 11. So Cougs didn't play, which was very sad, but it was very refreshing. And
hey, I enjoyed the weather. You and I were outside, so I had a great bye week for the
Honestly,
record.
I wish our bye weeks were earlier on. But I have to say this time it worked out pretty nice because the weather was completely we had one of the best days of the year so far. So we had the first up on the slate. We had Temple at Cincinnati, and Temple continues to show that the how bad the Binturongs are. So Temple ends up winning 35-24, and it was never really close, honestly. Temple led off with 13 points in the first half, and then Cincinnati didn't score anything until the third. So, Temple keeps their bowl hopes alive at 5-5. We didn't think it was going to happen, but
no, I agree, and you got to feel bad for. You got to feel bad for Cincinnati too. They're 3-7. Their first year under Luke Fickell has not gone anything like our first year under Herman. And truthfully, those guys were touting it like, dude, we got our next Herman. We're going to run roughshed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Man, Hayden Moore is a shell of himself.
Yeah.
He also led the team in rushing yards. That's not good because he should not be doing that.
Right.
I believe I think he's a wide receiver. Mr. Wright for the Owls broke one for a 98-yard touchdown. I think he got conference player of the week or something like that for Temple. So
good for him.
I feel bad for Cincinnati. I mean, they've got to feel so lost.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, go ahead.
I think what I was going to say is this personnel? I mean, they're kind of dealing with what we were dealing with just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Is it coaching? Is it scheme? Is it personnel? Is it one of each of the three? I don't know. I truthfully, I have no idea what's going on with Cincinnati. All I know is they cannot wait for this year to be over with, to be completely honest.
Yeah, overall, my general perception of what the situation with Cincinnati is, Tuberville came in there and basically drove that program into the ground for one way or another, which I don't really understand because they were getting just as good, if not better, recruiting classes than we were.
Agreed.
So what's going on? Is the team just completely demoralized? Admittedly, I haven't watched a ton of their actual scheme besides, it's up on the TV and I'm just sort of paying attention to the scoreboard, so I haven't gone really into their scheme. But overall, I think these are just serious growing pains that they're going to have to learn to deal with.
Well, and truth be told, their schedule has not been the easiest, but not been the hardest. But some of these games, they're not even competitive.
No.
And some of these games, they seem really competitive. They showed a somewhat flash of brilliance against Michigan, which Michigan is not that tough as we now know. They barely squeaked one out against Miami of Ohio. They barely lost to Navy. Yeah. They got whooped by Marshall, whooped by UCF, demoralized by USF.
Right.
And then they come back and almost beat SMU and barely beat Tulane, and then now they get beat by Temple. So I don't know. I think that's more mental than anything else.
Yeah, and I think they'll be much improved next year. I mean, you can't really do worse than 1-5 in the American right now. So let's hope they do, because honestly, as a program, I think they have the highest ceiling of most of the teams in the conference, and this Cincinnati team should be their record should be flipped. Next, we'll go ahead and talk about UConn at UCF. UConn ends up getting stomped by them 49-24.
This doesn't
UConn was amazingly actually able to score in every single quarter. When you start looking at it, midway through the third quarter, you've got 19-28. It looks like it's a game within reach, and then basically UCF just put pedal to the metal and ended up scoring another 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Well, truth be told, they're up. They kind of were in the same situation that we were against ECU. If you look at the end of the first quarter, they're up 21-3, and UConn has one good drive and gets 3 points out of it. So, you kind of do take the foot off the pedal, because you've got bigger games coming up, and the worst thing that could happen is anybody gets injured, because you've got the showdown on I-4 coming up.
Right, so, which is huge implications.
Yeah, exactly. So, so they get a touchdown at the beginning of the second quarter, but then you respond. So it's still 28-10 going into halftime. If you can coast and get out of there alive, okay, now they get another touchdown in the third quarter and you don't do anything. All right, now let's turn it on and put this game away and just demoralize them. And that's what happened. I mean, although UConn put up yards, truthfully, this game was almost in control from the get-go by UCF, and that's what it should be based off how UCF's played all year. I don't see anyone challenging them unless USF can figure themselves out. But, we figured their game plan out. If UCF can just do what we did and and have a better offense than we did, then I think they can win. They're going to win that game easily.
Yeah, we'll see about it. We'll get a little bit more detail on that one once we start doing the previews for this next one. And then next we have the SMU Navy game. Woo, nail biter.
So sorry, sad ponies.
Oh my gosh,
sad ponies.
Love to see Navy win. I would love to see Navy win this next week, and we'll talk about that game in a bit too. But dude, I like you said, I like to see SMU lose as many possible games. I hate having to deal with the fact that they're in our conference, and I like the rivalry, right, personally, but I hate competing for recruits with them. And the whole seeing Ben Hicks just throw all over everybody has been sickening for me while we've had these quarterback issues for so long. And I don't want that to happen again with another player down the road. And it's going to happen, right? Somebody's going to decide they want to go up to that good old HP world with all the young gold diggers.
Damn, Harold.
Politely.
Jesus.
But
my goodness.
Hey, you've been there. You've seen what it looks like around.
Well, why don't you focus on the field instead of off the field, my friend? Talk to me about the on the field action. How about that?
Navy's Malcolm Perry ended up running for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns, like a freak, as his first start. So obviously they've been dealing with quarterback issues for basically all season, which is awful. But they made it happen.
Well, and what's crazy is what we've talked before, a tale of two halves. Yep. Navy was winning 34-11
in the first half.
34-11 at halftime. That is insane. But then third quarter comes out, they got all fired up. They scored 3 touchdowns in the third half,
which they had the ability
to cut the lead to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. I mean, if you look at it, they scored in under 4 minutes every single time.
Yep.
So they can move the ball at will when they want to. I mean, 9 plays, 3.5 minutes, 6 plays, 2 and a quarter, and then 6 plays under 2 minutes. I mean, these guys can score at will with Chad Morris. But truthfully, Navy just grinded it out, and ran the ball and controlled the ball. I mean, if you look at time of possession, it was 38 minutes to 21 minutes on this game. I mean, I'm blown away, truthfully, that Navy wins this game and didn't complete a single pass, if you can believe that.
I did not see that part, but you shouldn't be surprised because it was the first time they had homeboy in there, and all they could do, all they were going to do was run. So,
and
that's what
as much as
three quarterbacks that are out.
Exactly. And as much as I want our conference to do well and I want our teams to go bowling,
sure,
I can't find myself rooting actively for SMU. I just cannot root for pompous fans. I mean, I've got a future family that's all SMU. A bunch of them are SMU fans, and they know my feelings about SMU. I don't like SMU. I think they're pretentious. I think they hang their hat on the early, not even the late 80s, the early 1980s. And tout that one or two national championship, and that's it.
Yeah.
Haven't done anything since then. Since then, they have one appearance in a conference championship game. One.
That's because they can't.
And I think.
Yeah,
exactly. So hats off to Navy for pulling out the win at the last 3 seconds. I'm looking forward to our game next week.
Me too. So last but not least, we have the boys from Tulane up at East Carolina and actually ended up pulling this one away. This is a game, 2 or 3 years ago that Tulane would have lost, right? This is, but it's going to show, even though they're 4-6, right? This is they still might not make a bowl. This is not, you would think that East Carolina might be 4-6 and that Tulane would be 2-8, but they continue to do all right, and they've only got they've got us, which they're not going to win. So I mean, they're not going to go bowling, I guess. But
I don't think they'll be going bowling. But they've made improvements, which is good, and I'm thoroughly impressed. And I don't want to take anything away from Tulane.
Oh yeah.
But they have made huge strides since the last couple of years, and so if we we'll get into this in a little bit, but if we treat Tulane like we have with ECU. Not ECU, but with Tulsa and some other games. You got to remember, we're only 3 years removed now when Tulane came to U of H and beat us. So, you have to respect, I think it's Dontrell. Is it Dontrell Hilliard, their running back? Yeah. The dude's a beast. I think he's top 3 in the conference in rushing. Jonathan Banks isn't anything that's great, but he isn't anything that's terrible. He's a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
So, based off this game, I do like our odds, but Tulane is a much better, much improved team from the 2016 version.
Oh, I definitely agree. And basically from, we're starting to see now with only 2 weeks left sort of who's going to be able to go bowling. And as of right now, that is not going to be pretty much our bottom half of the conference. Including Tulane, Tulsa, East Carolina, UConn, and Cincinnati. I think it's impossible for basically all 4 of those teams. And Temple has a shot.
Yeah, the only one. Correct. UCF, South Florida, and Temple maybe are going to go bowling. And then from the West, Memphis, Houston, and Navy and SMU are all for sure in. Right. Tulane is statistically almost eliminated. We got the game this weekend.
Right.
But, even so, Temple's got a 50-50 shot. They have to play UCF at home and then go to Tulsa in late November. In fact, that is Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken,
I believe so.
to get bowl eligible. So all things being equal, you're going to have 3 teams from the East and probably just 4 teams from the West, which is great. That's 7 teams bowling.
Agreed.
If I'm not mistaken, we have 8. We have 8 bowl games that we're tied into.
Right. So I'm with you. I don't think that's that bad. Tying into the who stacks where, I guess we'll go ahead and just jump into our power rankings. We got this right here. So much for week 11. We're going to move on to week 12 and our preview for the UH Tulane game. So first off, we have power rankings starting at the bottom and still at the bottom of the ocean. Our ECU Peg Leg Pirates.
It's been a tough go for the Peg Legs this year. They've shown some life at times, and they have that BYU win. They just they can't put it together. Nothing goes their way. They've had terrible quarterback play.
Yeah.
The defense is like the definition of soft.
Yep.
But you know what? Hats off to them. They'll still have, 35,000 plus. Right. What I'm saying is they'll still have 35 to 40,000 people show up to their game. So
that's true.
Hats off to them for that.
They're doing something right. And they could still possibly get one more win when they play Cincinnati this week. So next at 11, we have our good old friends Tulsa, sitting at 1-5 in conference and 2-8 overall at the bottom, and they continue to just pretty much suck. I think, as we mentioned a second ago, they're definitely going to lose. Probably. Well, I don't want to talk too much about the other games. We'll get into those. But I do think that they could possibly, I think Temple can possibly beat them. So
I mean, in Tulsa, it's kind of like what I've said from the get-go. They are living and dying by Chad President, and Chad President has been sporadic at best. And sadly, that's their own fault. That's their own doing. Luke Skipper came in and has changed some things up, but I just think that they, yes, I'll give them credit. They beat the hell out of us, but I think they caught us sleeping more than anything else.
Oh, definitely.
And truth be told, if we play that game 10 times, we're going to beat them 9 times out of 10. I don't think we lose to them outside of that one random time.
No, and I think their head coach is really good, and I'm afraid that Tulsa just might be behind the ball, man. And that, some teams come and go, and I'm afraid that it might be a little too late, as so much emphasis is going into media markets and big-time college atmosphere, and they're the smallest school in FBS, and a private school at that, and they're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and have to compete with OSU and OU every single year. And I think that all of those things, if you're recruiting these guys, they're much more likely to go to SMU or U of H, or I'd almost say even Tulane in our conference, or Memphis, if you're talking about sort of regionally, over Tulsa.
Truth be told, I think Tulsa understands where they're at, where they can be. I think they think that they can be competitive in the American, but that's about the ceiling for them. I don't think they have real aspirations of getting in a power league. I think they need to focus on being the best they can at the top of the G5 because of their limitations with their student body.
Definitely.
And that's about it. They don't have the alumni or the base or the just truly the infrastructure to support them going into a big league. They're not a Vandy.
Exactly.
They're not an SMU where they have a big city or anything like that.
Right.
Just focus on being the best G5, and I think they'll be okay.
Cool. So next at 10, we've got the Binturongs, continuing to just kind of show that they suck. They lost to Temple this last week, and we kind of went off ad nauseum on Cincinnati a second ago, so that's sort of where we think they belong. Next, at 2-5, we've got in conference 3-7 overall. We've got UConn, Sad Huskies, pretty much hanging out in that same spot. I'm impressed too with UConn. UConn's the kind of team where in the past, they've been in that 10, 11, 12 spot, and the fact that they're moving up a little bit with their, I think they're improved overall, and I don't think UConn's going to end up being a team that stays sort of crappy for forever. I would, as a brand, they have one of the most iconic basketball brands of everyone, and I think that in the next coming years they're going to be much closer to 7 and 8 as opposed to 9, 10, 11, 12.
I think they'll always. I don't think they'll ever challenge for the top 4 positions.
Nah.
But I don't think they'll ever stay in the bottom 4. They'll be in that weird tweener,
right?
Like you said, 7, 8, 9 area. Like every now and again, they'll jump up and be able to get into a bowl game. But for the most part, UConn's going to be a basketball school, and I think that's why they hired Randy Edsall again.
Yeah,
it was an easy fix. He knew the program. He quote unquote got them to their best heights ever on that best year when they went 8-4.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, truly, that's it.
So, yeah, I hear you. So next, Tulane. We went off on Tulane. You guys know how we feel about him. Then Temple. So Temple, 5-5, looking for their last win. I think that they can get it over Tulsa and go bowling. I think for the conference, that's the best thing that can happen. I don't think that they can beat because they're at UCF this week, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
they're at yeah. So or UCF's there. So
correct.
There's not a whole lot to talk about, right? We're now seeing the final implications of this season. Everybody's kind of starting to play out, so it's kind of this bottom half is really underwhelming. Next, go ahead.
Well, hold on. I mean, I just wanted to bring up about Temple. Temple's had terrible quarterback play this year.
Yeah.
They still had a good defense, but man, they cannot get anything out of their quarterback. I mean, truthfully, if they've started three guys. That's right. Really, in two, they're dealing with what we've been dealing with all year. And when you have bad quarterback play, it shows off in your rushing. It shows off in your defense. Hence why, I mean, Raquel Armstead was a Doak Walker watch list guy.
Yeah.
And he's only got 480 yards on the year. I mean, and with 2 games left, that's not exactly.
No.
They have 1,200 yards total as a team.
Yeah, and I think their alumni base have just got to be completely disappointed from seeing what happened, winning the conference and then this.
Well, truth be told, Matt Rule was a once in a lifetime coach.
Sure.
Just like our Herman. So to hold him to that expectation, plus he when Rule was there, he had Phillip Walker.
Yeah.
If Matt Collins had a Phillip Walker, this is a totally different story, and I guarantee you they beat our ass earlier this year.
Probably.
But they don't. And so that's why they're 5-5 and trying to get into a bowl game. But truth be told, that's kind of Temple's ceiling. Temple, like we've said before, Temple doesn't really have the much like Tulsa, the infrastructure to really advance themselves like a USF, a U of H, or a UCF.
Right.
So, the fact that they're getting into bowl games, hey, stick with it. That's good enough.
I'm with you. So next we have the Ponies from SMU sitting in at number 6. Overall, they're 6-4, so pretty much per the statistics, exactly where they fall on the conference rankings, and I think that's where they belong. They've got. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they've had 4 really close games.
Yeah.
And luck was on their side twice, and luck was not on their side the other 2 times. So,
correct.
I mean, I don't know what it is about SMU why they can't get over that hump. I think it's just the players that they recruit. Now the recruiting has gotten better. I'll give them that.
Right.
But they're just not at that level. Hence why you see they just can't beat UCF. They just can't beat Navy. They just can't beat us.
Yeah.
They just can't get over beating TCU. But again, I think SMU's, if they really, really put their back into it, could be one of the best G5 teams in the nation. I
completely agree. And
I don't.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't think that they have the infrastructure for a power conference. They'll sit there and say and scream and holler all day long that they can, but I don't buy it. I truthfully do not buy it.
Yeah, TCU, just down the road, kind of is able to get away with it because, Dallas is Dallas. Dallas has the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has the Mavericks. Dallas has the Rangers.
The Stars.
The Stars, everything. That's Dallas. And Fort Worth has always felt like the little brother, little sister. And when TCU started getting good 8, 9, 10 years ago, they sort of the city adopted TCU as their team. Whereas I don't see, even with SMU, being on fire, nearly as much of that ever happening for SMU. And they've tried to get, all the, famous athletes and movie stars to come down and hang out at the basketball games. And I think they could continue to, flourish as a basketball team. They're better now than really they almost ever have been, including when my grandfather played there. They were kind of bad.
There you go, Harold. Always got to have a f***ing plug about why you're from Dallas-Fort Worth. We know.
Hey,
we know, bro.
There. But yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to be able to have the infrastructure to keep up with it. Next, Navy, one of the teams that I definitely think could, should, and has been killing it. I mean, this week they ended up getting the win over SMU, and next week they've got a huge game, which we'll talk about in a little bit, against Notre Dame, and then they've got us. So, Navy has come in out from the gate as a pretty strong member of the conference. Right now they're 6-3. They're going bowling, and I think that I'm just really I kind of like the fact that there's one of these armed forces teams that is out there showing out. Now, granted, this is not their best year, but they've also had 4 quarterbacks now. So
yeah, I think they're back on. They're on their 3rd string.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
And they, while we're talking about sort of like where these teams can be in the future, they are a smaller school, but they have the entire support of basically anyone that's ever been in the Navy before. So
correct.
They pull from that fan base. So
right.
I think Navy is doing all right considering where they've been. They could easily won at least, 1 or 2 of these games previously, that they lost. So the Memphis
let me just tell you
tight.
this.
The Temple one was tight.
No, all I was gonna say is, everyone knocks Navy. Oh, Navy this, Navy that. They're not gonna win. They can't do this. But like we said before, all they do is win. Yeah. I mean, God bless. They're 6-3 this year, and people are still counting them out, including myself.
Exactly.
So, if you do not respect Navy, you will lose to Navy. And it's happened to us before, and it's happened to other people this year.
100%.
How does Notre Dame going to respond after losing a tough game against Miami? I don't know. With a healthy quarterback, Navy could jump up and bite them. I have no clue.
I agree.
But, Navy does scare me, but I think that their position in our power rankings is well deserved.
Yeah.
And if they beat us, and I will put them ahead of us. But as of right now, I think Navy's a solid number 5.
Cool. So with that, right above Navy are going to be the Cougs. I think, and we're going to. I think we can kind of basically jump 4, 3, 2, 1 because it's pretty obvious, and there's not a whole lot to really talk about here. The reason why we've got Memphis at number 3 is because obviously they beat us. They're ranked number 22, I believe, right now. In the AP poll. I'm not sure exactly where they're at otherwise. But, I mean, this Memphis team, I would love to see them continue to win out. I mean, they've got games against let me redact that statement. If they lose,
slow down, Harold. Think for a second and then come at us.
If they lose the next 2 games, I will be happy. But I don't want to see them drop 1 and then win 1, if that makes sense. If they lose both, that means boom, we're going to the conference title. Awesome, perfect news. If they win,
no. Time out. They do have to win. They cannot lose both games.
That's what I'm saying. But they lose both.
Yeah, right. I find that very, very tough to believe that Memphis will lose both games.
Exactly, and that's where I'm kind of getting at is I don't think they're going to win 1, drop 1, and it would be even more of a gut wrencher if they did win this next game and then lose to ECU for whatever reason. I don't see that happening. So in a world that's a little bit more realistic, I would like to realistically see them probably win these next 2 and represent the conference pretty well in a bowl game.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Then above them, we have USF at number 2 and UCF at number 3. I think it's pretty – you could argue that Memphis could be at number 2 and USF could be number 3. USF isn't pulling up in a lot of the rankings where Memphis is ranked higher. But I think overall those 2 are – I'd even be willing to say it's kind of a tie. I think USF is the better team. I think we have a great team, and that's why we were able to – we've had so many issues this year, all winnable games – if we had our heads up our ass, but from up our ass.
Well, and truth be told, we hadn't figured out our quarterback situation. I'm not 100% sold on King just yet. I'm a little worried about his durability, but thus far, he's the hot hand.
Yep.
He has, knock on wood, he hasn't thrown us interceptions or anything like that. And he's driving down the field. He's making good, tough plays.
Yeah.
He's connecting with our wide receivers. So, truthfully, I think a big test for him is going to be how he responds against Navy. And, fitting it's the last game of the year. But I'm interested to see. I don't think Tulane's defense is going to give us anything to worry about, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I think right now, where we stand, I think, it could have gone either way against Memphis, but Memphis is a well-deserved number 3. They do have a loss to UCF, so you can't put them up there. But truthfully, right now, on any given day of the week, I think you put right now any one of the top 4 in a match against each other, and it could be a toss-up between all 4.
I'm right there with you. And what we'll probably see is 1 or 2 is going to bump down to 3 this next week, and then Memphis will continue to probably move up. What do you think? We'll get into it later.
I'm sorry.
It's tough. I was gonna ask you about the UCF USF game, but
we're gonna touch on that next week. So don't worry, kitten. It's coming. It's coming.
Dude, it's just really weird not having you in the room. This is the first time I've ever done one of these Skype call podcasts, and I'm just trying to get used to it. But
it's all good.
With that, we'll go ahead and jump into the Tulane game. So why don't you lead us off, Mr. Statty Boys?
Well, as we all know, we're headed to play Tulane this weekend. It's a 2:30 kickoff, if I'm not mistaken, on CBS College Sports, maybe, or is it on the ESPN network? I can't remember. One of the two.
Yeah,
one of the two.
Not sure.
But I know, thankfully, because we have our handy dandy computers in front of us.
Exactly.
It is on ESPN News at 3:00. So gotcha. I thought it was on one of those. But currently the line is 9.5 favored for U of H, which is interesting because you get 3 points at home. And U of H has a 70% chance of winning per ESPN FPI, which I thoroughly agree with that.
Yeah.
Nothing really fancy about that. In fact, I don't know, truth be told, I don't even know if they've come out with the over-under. Let's see. The Firecast says nothing. Come on. Vegas likes to pick and choose when they put stuff out there.
Yeah.
53.5, and they have us favored by almost 10. So I think it's something like 40 to 30.
Right.
40 to 10, something like that. Wow. Interesting. That's a very, very interesting. Or maybe something like 28, 23, something like that. I don't think. No, I'm sorry. 28. Yeah. I don't know. I hate numbers. Anyways, I think
wasn't a math major.
No, I was definitely communications. I'll be the first one to admit that.
Ditto.
For those that don't know, thus far Tulane has gotten a win against Grambling State, 43-14, a loss against Navy, a close one, 23-21.
Right, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, an absolute shellacking against OU at the time was number 3, 56-14.
Not surprising. Their next one, the win against Army though.
Yeah, 21-27. Very impressive because Army's 5-2, 6-2, something like that right now.
Their only loss is to Ohio State and then Tulane. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins. They're 8-2, homie.
Yeah,
that's insane. When was Army 8-2? That's what's crazy.
It's been a very long time. Very, very long time. But they won against Tulsa 62-28, which should have been our score, but such is life.
Correct.
Then they ripped off a bunch of losses in the row. I don't think it was injuries this year, but they lost to FIU 23-10. They lost to South Florida 34-28. Memphis, do what?
As expected, but still a pretty close one.
They lost to Memphis 56-26. Then randomly lost to Cincinnati 17-16. And then beat this, and then they beat last week, like we talked last week, ECU 31-24 in overtime. So what this shows me is that they, can go jump up and bite you, but at the same time, they're still kind of Tulane-ish, if that makes any sense or any verbiage.
Choke City. It's kind of like Couged it. Whenever you Coug it, Tulane has the same problem.
Tulane has been Tulane since 1998, and there's no reason to believe any other reason why. It's more about just don't make mistakes.
Right.
If you don't make mistakes, you're going to be able to handle business. 100%. And just a few players I want to touch on for Tulane, not to knock on them or anything like that at all, because they have beaten us before.
Yeah.
Their number one offensive threat is Dontrell Hilliard. He's got 179 rushes for almost 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns.
freak.
He's got 99 yards per game, and that's good for third in conference. So that guy likes to rush, which actually plays in our favor because we've got a bunch of guys that like to gobble up rushes.
Exactly.
That I'm good with that. Their quarterback, Jonathan Banks, is 163 for 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Nothing fancy there. He's got 623 rushing yards, so he is a dual threat. But again, that plays into our hand because we know how to handle rushing QBs. We handled Flowers and we handled I wouldn't say we handled Brewer, but we handled the rest of the guys for South Florida. So truthfully,
totally agree.
A rushing team does not scare me. I mean, their number one guy for wide receiving, I think, only has like 300 or 400 yards, something like. Hold on,
it's not impressive.
It's 400 yards, Mr. Onclade? Yeah, Terran or Onclade. I know I butchered that so bad, so I'm sorry, Tulane fans, if you're listening. They do have a good couple linebackers, though. Ray John, oh, man, I forgot his last name, so my bad, Tulane fans. But he's the number one linebacker. He's got 80 total tackles for 8.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Their other linebacker, Zachary Harris, has 59 total tackles and 2 tackles for loss. So, in fact, I think Ray John just got Conference Player of the Week on the defense. So
yes,
they do come to play. I do have to give them credit where credit is due.
Definitely.
But nothing jumps out at me of, oh, my God, we got to really worry about this defense.
No.
Again, I think, like I've said all along, if we handle our business, don't turn the ball over, and we can establish a rushing game between King, Catalan, and Carr, I think it's just going to be a solid day at the office.
Oh, I agree. It's we'll get into odds and ends, and I'll give you my little take.
Okay. Well, just odds and ends, some little quick quips you can tell your friends or people you're talking about for this weekend's game.
Sure.
They're middle of the pack on scoring offense and scoring defense. They're almost very last in conference total offense. They're middle of the pack total defense, so they have a respectable defense. You're not just going to move at will against them. They are 4th in conference in rushing, but they're 11th in passing. Like we just said, they can't throw the ball worth a damn, but they can rush the ball.
Exactly.
Their defensive line doesn't really get to the quarterback. They've only got 19 total sacks on the year, which is good for almost last in the conference. They are 2nd in conference in time of possession, which makes sense because you do the rushing game. Right. But one thing you need to know is that Garrett Davis and Terrell Williams lead the conference with 4 interceptions on the year each.
Right.
So they're not going to be able to throw the ball. They're going to have to rush the ball. And that really plays well in our favor. If they have to rush the ball and they're not getting to our quarterback, you've got to believe that
it's kind of a perfect storm, right?
Right, exactly.
It should hypothetically be exactly what we would expect, a stomping of a Tulane team like we've been doing for the last 15, 20 years on average, right? Statistically. Now, I'm going to go ahead and we'll jump in and give our predictions. Okay. But I will predicate this based on one thing. So, score-wise, I know Jameson went ahead and put in for us to be 40-27. Pretty good score. Actually, kind of sounds a lot like what I'm going to say. I'm picking 41-17. I think, we're playing that at home. I see no reason why they're not going to be able to at least score 2 touchdowns. And probably, get a field goal drive in the second half. Or maybe in the first quarter or something like that. That's sort of the scenario that I think. And I think we are going to continue to go out and throw a lot of balls. I do probably predict, per average, we're going to have 1 or 2 different field goals. So, 41-38 is sort of my overall prediction, but I'm going to stick with 41 on the high side. If we don't screw it up. And I have a weird feeling that this could be very similar for some reason to the the Tulsa game. And I only say that because we're coming off 2 wins, we've got some hype, we feel good, and then boom. That's what happens when the team gets a little too cocky and we fall on our face and lose a game that we shouldn't. We really should not lose this game, guys. Let's make sure that we don't. Let's make sure it's not a trap game and take care of business. What do you got for score?
So we said the over-under was, 53. They have us favored by almost 10. So is the score going to be 43-10? I'd be a little bit hard pressed to see that. I know our defense is good, but Major has shown that he is not the guy to just have the killer instinct and, make sure it's not even Major, I guess. It's Coach D.
Sure.
You saw ECU, which granted we were up 28-3 or something like that going into the beginning of the second quarter. But, truth be told, I think like I've talked to you guys before with King being on rest and having more time in the film room. With everybody coming back, I think we get Grant Stewart back. We get almost everyone back that was out. I think everyone that was dinged up is back, except for Marquez Stevenson, obviously, because he's still out for the year.
Right.
So I think I want to say this score is going to be something like, I don't know. Let's say we'll go 38-13.
Okay.
I think we go under on the over/under, but I think we cover. I think we give up, a couple field goals and a touchdown. That wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
I think we move the ball at will. I don't think they're going to stop us, but I think it's going to be a slower game because they're going to rush the ball a lot more.
100%.
You're not top 3 in the conference for no reason. I think they're going to be able to move the ball, but our defense in the red zone is still doing damn well. Yeah. So I think the final score for me is going to be 38-13.
Cool. I like it. You can see we're all sort of sitting in there in the same world. So, overall, I think that the Cougs are hopefully going to take this one away. We all feel pretty confident, and I wish I was able to come down there. I almost was going to be on a run where I would have been in New Orleans 3 times out of 4 weeks. And I had to cancel. Unfortunately, there's just no way because I have to go. You and I both will be there in December, and it's just it's too much. Thanksgiving, the holidays. It's the first time in a while we haven't been down to the game. So
and truth be told, like I'm here in Lafayette this week. Next week is Thanksgiving, so I'll be traveling to Austin. The following week, I got to go to the Eagleford and see accounts. The following week, we're going to be in New Orleans. And then 2 weeks after that, I have to fly to Denver for a wedding. So I think I can take a weekend off and just sit at home and watch it with some friends. So I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. So hopefully you Cougs go, though, and have some fun. I know there's always a good amount of Cougs that go and enjoy the game and raise some hell on Bourbon Street, so you all have fun without us. Then next we'll go ahead and do our American in 300 seconds. That's 5 minutes for you guys. Probably even shorter this episode.
Probably even shorter. First game out the chute, we've got Tulsa at USF. USF has an 84% chance of winning this game.
I'd say that's probably pretty fair.
I would say it's actually kind of giving too much respect to Tulsa. They probably gained a couple points because of them beating us. Yeah. So, with that said, I think this is going to be an easy game for USF to win.
Yeah, I mean, USF has had a couple of, if USF can continue to score, then they'll be all right. But in the games where the low-scoring games for them, under, close to the 31, 32 to, 38 points, they're having issues, and the offense is not playing very well. So unless this is going to be like a couple of those other games, I don't see any reason why that's not going to happen.
I think it's going to be a long game because USF likes to run the ball. I'm sorry, a very quick game because I think USF likes to run the ball. It's also likes to use their dual threat quarterbacks. So I think USF's going to win this one handily.
I can see that.
Next, we have USF. Next, though, we do have number 18, UCF at Temple. USF gets an 85% chance of winning this game. Unless Temple's got something in the bag that's that they haven't shown any of us, I see this one being a very easy game at the office for USF. I don't see any reason why. Temple gives me no reason to believe that they can jump up and upset USF. USF is just the hot hand right now.
I would say that, except for the fact that this is their last home game, and they're going to be treating this like their Super Bowl. They're trying to get bowl eligible. Temple has a decent amount of athletes. I don't think that they're going to end up winning the game, but I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they came back and somehow stole this one away from UCF. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd say probably maybe a 5-10% chance that could. So.
Whoa. So you think that UCF could slip up and lose this game?
Possibly.
I don't know about that, my friend. I do not know about that.
They're damn good, but I'm just mentioning Temple's going to be playing like they have nothing to lose. So it's going to be an interest. I think this will be a good game.
Okay. Well, I'll let you have that one. Next, we have SMU at number 22, Memphis. If Memphis is going to lose any game, I think it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
But ESPN does give them a 77% chance to win.
I'm not sold on it. I think SMU could win this game.
Maybe. I gave it a coin flip, to be honest. If you told me Memphis wins close, okay. If you told me Memphis blows it out, okay. If you told me SMU wins close, I'd be like, okay. If you told me SMU won in a blowout, I'd be like, all right.
I don't think that SMU could end up blowing them out, but I mean, I think it is going to be a close game. I think Memphis ekes it out. They're both going to score a lot of points, but I mean, what is the spread on the over under on this game?
Over under on this one? Yeah. Hold on, give me 1 second, my good friend. I think the over under is going to be around 60 points, maybe 65.
I think it could be.
But the line, let's see, the good old line. Our friends at Vegas have it at 11.5 for Memphis.
Gotcha.
Which I think that's a little disrespect to SMU.
I agree.
76.5 is what the over under is. So they're expecting like a 40-35 game.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it could even get closer to like 80. So. We'll see, though. I mean, it's at Memphis. Memphis is going to get up and get loud, and SMU does not bode well in those sort of environments. So,
I agree.
Next game, homie.
Let's see. Cincinnati at ECU. Pillow fight of the century.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
Cincinnati has a 61% chance to win, but I don't think that's accurate. I want to give the edge to ECU, given – how well their quarterback play has been. I mean,
if you were going to ask me this at the very beginning of the year, I would totally just say Cincinnati, like you mentioned. But ECU, it seems to me like ECU is less fussy than Cincinnati is, even though Cincinnati has better athletes. And so, granted, I do think Cincinnati is going to end up pulling it away. I really would feel bad for Cincinnati, and I don't think it's a good look for the conference if they end up being the worst team in the conference this year. So I would really like to see them get a win so they can come back up.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
Next, we have Navy at number 3, Notre Dame.
And they've moved down in the AP at least, I think, to 9 as of this week. So
yeah, and my notes are a little wrong. I guess I was just being overzealous. I wrote Navy has a 96% chance to win, but I don't think that's entirely accurate, Cotton.
No, negative.
I think it's Notre Dame has a 96% chance to win.
Probably.
But I don't truthfully believe that. Navy is not a bad team.
No, dude.
And I don't know how Notre Dame's going to respond to last week's game. I mean,
oh yeah,
they're giving Notre Dame 18.5 freaking points, and I just don't. I don't buy that.
I don't
in
either.
The slightest bit.
I bet if Notre Dame wins, it's going to be within a touchdown. Navy could win with a field goal or something like that.
I would agree with that. And then last but not least, Boston College at UConn. Boston College with a 94% chance to win.
Yeah.
True. Notre Dame. I'm not Notre Dame. Boston College is not anything to, be scared of.
No.
But then again, UConn isn't either. So,
yeah.
I don't. UConn doesn't give me any hope of how they can win, so I'm going to have to go with Boston College.
Sure.
But I mean,
they're 5-5.
Boston College,
not good. They're going to want to at least get to bowl eligibility. I'm going to go for Boston College on this one.
I think it's funny that Boston College is favored by 3 touchdowns, and it's at UConn. That's
sad. I would love for Huskies, go get the win, please. I want to see this win, please.
And this one's interesting. It's at Fenway Park. They do this once a year where they have it in Boston Stadium.
Right. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know if they like it or not, but.
Well, I mean, they weren't hosting the World Series or anything, so it's not like they didn't have anything to do or anything going on recently.
That's true.
Just being honest. But that's it. I mean, that's it for the American this week.
Yeah.
Kind of getting down to that last week. Obviously the big showdown is next week, USF versus UCF. Yep. We've got us versus Navy. So I think this week will be the last little week. You can we're going to see maybe some big movement after that. Next week is going to solidify who's wearing the conference.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, overall, like you just mentioned, though, this week for college football kind of sucks.
Yeah. Next week's rivalry week. So this week is always SEC week to get their pillow fights where they can. So
overall, you've got a couple of the interesting ones that we found are going to be Wisconsin versus Michigan. So Michigan sitting at 8, and Wisconsin's 10-0 for the first time in history. If you watch sports at all, you might know that because they keep on pointing it out everywhere.
Which I find that interesting that they've never been 10-0 after all the history that they have.
I know.
I find it very interesting that they've never won 10 games in a row to begin the season.
Well,
but
there's not a whole lot of teams in the country that have ever gone 10-0. So I mean, especially in the Big Ten, that's pretty hard to do unless you're Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State. Those have got to be probably the only other teams. Oh, well, Iowa did that a couple of years ago. But
yeah, how do you talk to your kid about an undefeated Iowa team? That was the thing. That was the thing. Yeah.
So I don't know who you got on this one.
I think I'm gonna go with Wisconsin. I think Jim Harbaugh is a fraud. I think he's overrated as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's a punk, and I would love for Wisconsin to get the W. Next, we have TCU at Texas Tech. Going to be a pretty interesting one. So I believe Tech is 5-5 right now, so they're going to want to get bowl eligible. TCU just came off of, a week ago. They lost their game against good old Iowa State, and TCU and Tech. Everybody from Tech is from Dallas-Fort Worth, for the most part. And this will basically be like a home. I mean, it's not a home game. If it were backwards, it would be a home game. But a lot of people will know each other at this game. And, I think Tech. If anybody in the Big 12 could do it, I think Tech can. I don't think their record really reflects how good they are. And like you mentioned earlier, I think Cliffy's going to have to be worried about losing this game and then losing the next game to Texas if he wants to keep his job.
Well, truth be told, Tech has to win one of the next two. I don't think that Tech can survive another 5-7 year. That's one bowl game in 4 years after they ripped off like a straight, 11 or 12 years straight in bowl games with Mike Leach. I don't think that's going to sit too well in good old middle of nowhere Lubbock.
So when are we hiring Cliffy back as offensive coordinator?
Never. I have seen some things where he might, like if Morris leaves, he goes to SMU. I've seen that.
That'd be interesting.
I would not want to play against him every single year.
No,
thank you.
At all. But
no, thank you. Next,
we have Texas at West Virginia. So this is interesting because Texas is in the same boat. They end up playing Tech at the end of the year, and then they have this West Virginia game. Texas is going to be hard-pressed to make a bowl game because they also have 5 wins. And I don't know that they can beat Tech or West Virginia.
I have no idea, but if I'm Tom Herman, this is a very scary 2 weeks. I mean, you have to be on it the next 2 weeks to make it happen. And truth be told, I don't I don't know. I don't think they've got it what it takes to win one of these next two. Truth be told, I don't think it's in their favor. Especially they're dismissing players. They are people are getting injured. Things are just not falling Tom Herman's way. I think he thought he was going to waltz in and it was just going to be a cakewalk on the 40 acres, and I think this year has been anything but. And well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, look at all the hair he's lost too.
Oh my gosh, it's awful.
It's bad. It's
he
bad.
Needs to get Rogaine needs to sponsor him or something. That boy, he needs some milk. Overall, that's it for this week. Not a whole lot going on really in the top 25 besides what our teams are doing. Navy, Memphis, Temple all have really big games. Would love to see Navy and UConn get an out-of-conference win this week. That would be awesome. We need some help with our conference against other conferences. So thanks, guys, for listening. Be sure to check us out. We're on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram. You know the deal. If you don't already, click the subscribe button and tell a friend. We got a lot of Kook fans out there, and I know that we're putting out pretty much 2 episodes a week, and I don't really know anybody else who's doing that. So if you need your Cougar fix, we are your answer. So with that being said, we're about to jump in and preview our basketball team for 2017-2018, and we will catch you guys in the next one. See you guys soon. Go Cougs.
See you. Wow, go Cougs.
We're out.